Okay, so I know that the term ghostwriting really has a different connotation, but I like to think of ghostwriting in a journal or in my artwork as sort of like hidden writing. So maybe you wanted to write down a lot of thoughts like this, but you don't want people to read them, but you still want to have the same essence or the same sort of vibe to your piece. And maybe you want to write your thoughts down or a quote or a song, whatever, but you don't necessarily want the words, the actual literal words to be front and center. Okay, so in that case, then I like to do things like just create pattern. Okay, so I have a couple samples here actually that are stamps that I've created from this technique. This first one actually is called Scribble something, Scribble Script. I also do have a couple stencils, or not a couple, I think, yeah, stencil from Stencil Girl called that Scribble Script, and say that 10 times fast. And I also think I have a chipboard stencil, a Planet Earth stencil, that's like that. So I'm just going to show this to you. Again, this actually was a word that, or a sentence. I was thinking thoughts when I actually wrote it out, but it ended up just creating a pattern. Okay, and so that's sort of a fun thing. This one here is from my new Imperfection collection, and it is a part of one of my favorite poems, but I didn't want it to be literal. I wanted this pattern, and I did it with paint writing actually, and honestly I'm gonna say this might even be upside down, I'm not sure. And it didn't stamp the best, but you can see, and this is one of my favorite poems, and it says, "Normal day, let me be aware of the treasure you are." Okay, and you can't really make that out, but it is a fabulous background pattern, and stamped over and over, it's really quite engaging, I think. So that is a way that you can ghostwrite. Okay, so you again imbibe or sort of have the essence of your thoughts and words. Again, you can go straight to your paper. This is a little piece of cold press water paper. I'm going to actually go ahead and cut this in half, or tear it in half, I should say. Do a couple different things. What I like to call a few different things ghostwriting. I don't, for lack of just a better term, but let's do a little bit just using a Papermate Flare pen. And we can go in and basically even think of let's just write this, love for imperfect things. We're going to write that over and over, okay? And we're just going to, it's sort of fun to do with a thicker pen, or you can try different, like a paint pen. You could try some, like a Sharpie marker or something like that. This happens to be a little bit water soluble, so I'm going to just, let's just do this. So I'm really just thinking of it over and over. I can do different type of lettering, or not, I can do uppercase, lowercase, but I'm really going over and being super loose because I don't want it to be legible. So after a few minutes, it just becomes sort of abstracted. Because you're going very fast, you're starting to not really think about the letters, so you might end up misspelling it, but you still get the gist. Okay, I'm going to actually switch this up just a little bit and grab a couple other of my Sharpie markers just for fun. Some of them are, I'm sorry, I said Sharpie markers, but I meant my Flair pen markers. Some of them might not be, they might be older, so I'm just going to keep writing the same thing over and over. And then it just becomes, honestly, scribbling, but it's still there. I don't know how else to really say it to you, but you're just going to keep going. One thing I don't like to do is I try to avoid starting everything super symmetrically. So, you might even want to start, like if you're writing the word love, start your L off the page and let it sort of go into that. That way everything's not lined up. If you are making certain, if you're actually writing actual letters where they're legible, you might not want them to always end and start in the same spot. So. The other thing you can't, well, I tore this piece of paper in half so I could do something different on that one, but you can also then, go back in and add some little dots or lines and stuff like that, like we did in here and also in here, because again, we're striving for imperfection, folks. But what I started to say is that you can actually, turn your paper and go different ways, up and down, sideways, backwards, whatever, and that'll kind of create even a different look. Okay. So, and then again, a little bit water soluble. If you wanted to, you could smush this around a bit and maybe paint in some of the openings or around in the negative spaces. Stuff like that is sort of fun to do. You could pull in, of course, a little bit of watercolor even if you wanted to. And keeping in mind that I will say these Pentel pens are not light fast. So after a time they do fade out a little bit, but it's okay. It's going to be in a journal. If you were going to do this as hanging art and you wanted to do something like this, something that was going to be displayed or again framed and hung in your home, then you would want to definitely use pens that are more like a Prismacolor or an alcohol-based marker that's a little bit more permanent than something like this, and then I would use my actual watercolor. Okay, so but for journaling, these would be great. So that, again, my friends, is what I like to call ghostwriting. Between that and something like, let's get one of these, and let's get out our little wax crayon. I have my wax crayon here. Okay, so I have these wax crayons, and my dear friend Tracy, and Tracy, she's here in this class, so she made me these wax crayons, and I do love them. So you can get them at an art supply store. They just have like a regular clear wax crayon, but if you can't find one of those, you can also just use a white regular Crayola crayon. But these are just clear wax, and I just write with them. So whatever words that you want, let's do something a little bit different here. Let's say, oh goodness. Well, you know what? Let's just do more scribble stracks because that is easy and I don't have to think about a word right now. And I'm just gonna go crazy. And really I am just scribbling right now, but of course I could be thinking about the word imperfection or the word perfection or love for all of it, okay? And then I write pretty firmly when I do that because I really want that crayon to set up in there. And you can even do something like hit it with a warm or hot blow dryer just to make sure it's sort of melded in there. I'm going to go ahead and do that real quick. Okay, so by hitting that with a hot blow dryer, what it did when I scribbled on my paper, it left like little crumbs of the wax. So I hit it with the hot blow dryer and it melted it. I want to let it cool just for a second, and then it's really in the surface of that paper, in the fibers of the paper, and then I also don't have any little wax crumbs to contend with, okay? So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to hit it with some of my watercolors, keeping in mind that the darker the watercolor that I use, the brighter that is going to stand out. So of course, you know, just have fun with that. Get some beautiful colors. And you, again, may not be able to completely read what you've written, and especially, well, you won't be able to read these words anyway because they are really just scribbled. But my point in telling you that is that it's going, some of the resist is really going to stand out, and then some is going to be a little more subtle, but it's still going to make a lovely, lovely background with some really fun ghostwriting. Again, if you come up with a better name, resist writing, I guess this could be a writing resist. Right, and then just play with it until you're happy with it. And a lot of mine really didn't stand out. I think it will stand out more as it dries. But you can see here from this page that I shared with you earlier, if I can find the page I shared with you earlier, how can it go very far? Oh my gosh, my stuff just gets up and walks away, and it's well within, you know, arm's reach, but I still can't manage to find it. Amazing. Aha, it was inside here. So here we go. This page is all done with this technique. And you can see some of it is actually really bright white and some of it is really ghosty. I think it'll get more as I go along, but some of it I maybe didn't draw as firmly or as with as much of a firm hand. I think that's where this is really showing up. But it's okay. I love it all. I think it's a beautiful pattern, very subtle, and would be great technique actually for like clouds and things like that if you didn't even want to do it as writing. So there we have all of our, let me move all this. I just want to sort of go back over all of the different lessons on writing. We have the paint writing, stream of consciousness writing, and ghost writing. I hope you have fun with these techniques and pages. Just keep in mind that I am going to work on flat pages throughout, and then we will assemble our entire journal at once. Although if you want to be working on your pages this way, that's completely, you know, great. It's whatever that makes you feel the most imperfect. Anyway, have a great, wonderful time for creating and working in your imperfect journal, and I'll see you for the next lesson. And that we will be working on canvases. We'll be working on canvas painting and collaging. So I'm really looking forward to it, and I'll see you soon.